Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.
Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. From local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it.
We will have done 27 different neighborhood town hall meetings.
If I hadn't gone into the hotel business, I probably would have went into the nursery business.
Yeah, it's been an amazing morning going around looking at all the animals and
The community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.
It is exciting getting ready for the big 4th of July parade here in beautiful Fredericksburg, Texas. This has become Bernie with the rebound.
Everyone, welcome to the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce.
Please all time here, 3,500. So they go to your dad.
And we had that promise to get in John's gospel.
We love living in the country.
When I think about
Husband.
Along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing down.
Hey there, well, welcome, Billy fans. This is
on September 25th, 1925.
John
when she sank
Crawford Fritch.
like 75, 80 folks maybe in the room. So again, thank you for being here. Before we get started, I'm going to go around and introduce just a couple of folks, and I'll ask staff to introduce themselves to the group. Starting with city council members that are present, we have Bobby Watson right up front here. We have Tony Klein. Who else from the council? Oh, Randy Briley. I'm sorry. It's the hardest part of my job. I forgot a council member when we had a town hall a couple of weeks ago. Just looked right over the top of her. We have former council member Tom Musselman with us. Any other former council members with us? Okay, in terms of staff, I'll start right here. Garrett Bond, Assistant City Manager. We have our new City Secretary, Leticia Vasak. That's as far as I'm going to, yeah. I learned this trick from somebody a couple of weeks ago, so I don't forget. See how much better that works? I know their names very well. Leslie? Okay. Any other staff? Okay. So today we're going to be talking about a few different things. Starting with the Albert Hotel. We have representatives from the Albert Hotel development that are going to tell you all about it. And by the way, thank you for providing breakfast this morning. It's wonderful. From the Keitel Pharmacy, you can also grab a drink at the White Elephant Saloon associated with that hotel on Main Street there. So you'll learn all about that development. We're going to ask our Public Works Director to give an update on Public Works projects coming up. Some pretty exciting stuff. Has anybody seen the crane over by HEB? Okay, anybody wondering what that is? We're going to tell you all about that today. Also give a water supply update. We'll talk just a little bit about the council meeting yesterday. Anybody from Heritage Hill Country here? Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap with talking about our Food and Wine Fest preview week events coming up. So with that, we will kick off. I would like to introduce Mike Bullock, the General Manager for the Albert Hotel. He'll work us through this presentation, and I'll let Mike introduce some of his team members that are here with us today. So, Mike? Okay, perfect.
Hey, there we are. Good morning, everyone. What a great turnout this morning. I don't think I've ever been to a golf course this early and not had my clubs ready to play. So, I do hope you're enjoying breakfast that we have supplied from the Keitel Pharmacy, which is right on Main Street, as Clinton mentioned. We are super excited to be here this morning. I'm joined by some members of my team that I do want to just recognize and appreciate for also getting up this early and not playing golf. Our developing partner on the project is Matthew Pipkin. A lot of you know him. He has been such an amazing resource and really was the one to get this project off the ground and going. So thank you for being here, Matthew. And then our Director of Sales, Victoria, as well, is here. So I'm super excited to kind of share, this project has been under construction for some time. And I've been in the community for 2 years now, and I have so many familiar faces in the room. It's really what I love about being in this community, is just getting to know all of you. And so really, for the last 2 years without a hotel to operate, that's what I've been doing, is getting to know many of you in this community. And so I'm excited to share, things are really starting to happen over there for those of you who've driven by on Main Street or even on Austin Street, where you can really see where the work is being done. Just some kind of updates here. So this here is some marketing mumbo jumbo, which is really beautiful and kind of gives you an overview of the project. I work for a parent company that's based out of Austin called New Waterloo. And I do want to just explain a little bit about what New Waterloo stands for, because I think it ties perfectly into our project. So New Waterloo started as a freestanding restaurant management company. So, and they still own and operate some really great restaurants in Austin: La Condesa, Il Bruto, Sway, which is a Thai restaurant. So really great. We got into the hotel business about 9 years ago. So our sister hotel is South Congress Hotel in Austin, for those of you who may have been there. But what New Waterloo does, and what their mission is to create hotels in communities that is essentially built for the local community. And that seems maybe odd, because you're like, well, why would I ever stay at a hotel in my local community? But we really make them so that they are places that the local community wants to come and hang out in, and it feels just as much for them as it is for hotel guests. So that's really something, for any of you that have maybe been to the Keitel Pharmacy so far, or been to the Elephant Saloon on Main Street, is we make those places for y'all. And we hope if we make them good enough for the community, that also guests will show up as well. So if you've been to any of our sister properties, we also have property in Baltimore, in Merced in California, and then we have some in development as well. But if you've ever been to the property in Austin, that community on South Congress and that neighborhood is what keeps that and makes that property come to life. And we are very hopeful that it will do the same at Albert, that you all will come and spend some time there and see what I mean by that. So this is our footprint. We have 2 acres between Main Street and Austin Street here. For some reference, this is the candy store here, which is our property line on this side, and then Vaudeville sits right up here. So if you haven't seen, well, most of y'all probably have, but I've shown people around that have only seen the property from Main Street, and they're like, well, where's the hotel? And I'm like, I assure you, there's rooms back there. And so that building that kind of Z's back to Austin Street there is all 105 of our guest rooms. And that's a new construction there. From Main Street, it looks like 2 stories because it was built back. You can get a better view kind of here of that. And we had 4 historical buildings that sat on the property, 2 of which I've already mentioned: the pharmacy, the saloon, Albertina House, which sits right next to that pharmacy, which will be part of our development as well, which is part of our development. And that's how we got to 109 rooms. There's 4 rooms in that home. And then there's a Sunday home. You can see it here. Everyone loves this home, myself included. This is the Brockman-Keeney Sunday home, which will be the indoor seating for Junebug's Barbecue Restaurant, which will sit right there on the corner of our property. So you kind of, the front drive of the hotel, because everyone's like, well, how do you get to the hotel? Well, our front drive is right here, and you'll go in, and then Junebug's is situated there. Across the street, not pictured, is about 160 spaces of our parking garage, which will alleviate a lot of the parking solutions. If y'all want to come and visit, we're going to valet your car. You won't have to deal with trying to find parking, because I know that's an issue. That's a better kind of view here of our front drive. So I mentioned the saloon, the pharmacy, Junebug's. The additional food and beverage offering that we will have is the restaurant at Albert, which will sit right in the middle of the lobby of the hotel. Chef Michael Fotoge out of Austin is our culinary director and visionary of all food and beverage for Albert, and he will be the one that's kind of leading up the culinary experience in the restaurant at Albert. What you're looking at there is kind of overlooking the courtyard and our event space there. What's been amazing about this is really seeing these renderings over the last 2 years since I've been on this project, and then seeing them come to life. Our pool is kind of modeled after a Texas swim hole. What you're looking at here is that pool area, and then that restaurant at Albert that I was telling you all about, that's the patio area that overlooks that pool space right there. Another look at our event space. So a lot of people ask, well, how big of events can you do, right? Like for large meetings. So our sweet spot is right about 150 people that we'll be able to do at Albert, from like a seated orientation like we're in now, to upwards of 200 plus in a reception type style setting as well. Our guest rooms, like I mentioned, 105 guest rooms total, with 13 suites, one of which that I'm sure you have all seen, it was in the paper, is the Albert Suite, which sits right above and overlooks Main Street. All of our rooms come with, the various amenities, right? We are really the first full-service hotel that's operating in Fredericksburg. So all those things you would get when you go to a Marriott downtown or a resort, you're going to get all those things at Albert. We're going to valet your car, like I mentioned. We're going to have a 6 treatment room spa, right? So for facials, massages, things like that. Room service, bell service, all of those things that if you just want to come and park your car for the weekend and just stay there, you could walk and have everything you need kind of at your fingertips. I think another thing, as a hotelier, I guess a little bit of background about myself. I've been in the hotel business for 10, 11 years now. I started my career with the Four Seasons hotel group, which probably a lot of you are familiar with. But I spent the last 5 years at Hotel Emma at the Pearl in San Antonio. And I was there right at the beginning of that project. And Hotel Emma did something really special for that community that I am hopeful that Albert will do for the Fredericksburg community as well. And I touched a little bit on that already about the community embracing the space and feeling like it was just as much theirs as anyone who was going to stay at the community. And in the 2 years I've been in Fredericksburg, it has become abundantly clear from sitting in many meetings like this, or board meetings or committees, that the most important thing to this town is community and sense of belonging in place. And as a hotelier and someone who values experience, that community can be broken down by things like short-term rentals that dissolve the sense and place of community. The best thing about Albert, and one of the best things I think that Albert will do, is it takes people out of those communities and into a hotel where, and I think they kind of should be, and kind of helps with that, right? It just allows that community to kind of take hold again. And so I think, we look at all the information that the CVB has as far as who's coming to this wonderful place from Houston, from San Antonio, from Dallas, Fort Worth area. And I think the Albert Project will just open that up to a different type of visitor who maybe doesn't want to come and do a short-term rental thing. They want more of a full-service option for us. We talked a little bit already about these food and beverage options, so you can kind of run through these, Sean. But one thing that was incredibly important to us is historical preservation. We were given 4 historical buildings like that I already mentioned. We did, for those of you who've been inside them, we did very little to those. In fact, what we've tried to do is really enhance the history when you walk into those buildings and telling a story and connecting what that place was to what we're currently trying to do for it now. So if you go into the pharmacy, you're going to see a bunch of historic pictures with stories being told on them. And that's really a key component of what Albert is our hotel is, our muse and inspiration for the project was Albert Keidel, right? Who we have a good slide about Albert Keidel at the end of this presentation. Sean, if you could maybe skip forward to that. So we really tried to use storytelling in the history of Albert, of the space, to really enhance and bring to life the property. So there's a great quote here from John Graham that says, Albert was either the last Renaissance man of the hill country or the first hippie, which is great, and I love that. So there's just, our idea is to tell those stories, right? Because if you can be connected to the place and feel a sense of that history coming to life, then you're going to want to spend more time there. And it seems authentic, right? I mean, I've been in countless hotels where there is no sense of energy or life. You could literally put that hotel anywhere in the country and you're like, oh, this is the Marriott. All the rooms look the same, the lobby looks the same. To me, that does not get my blood pumping at all. I like to provide unique experiences, and that's really what we're trying to do at Albert. And we do that by making that history come to life and telling those stories. So I've yapped at y'all enough, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I'm going to answer the first one for y'all real quick. When are we opening? Right? This is the $1 million question. Here's a sneak peek of some of our rooms that are in place. So over 4th of July, we did a little preview event. We have 3 rooms that we really push to get ready to be able to show and continue to sell our property. Because as you could imagine, when we open our doors, we'd like to have guests that are there. So in order to do that, we have to show people, hey, this is what we have to offer you. So that's what these pictures are, and we're going to continue to do. We are on pace to complete construction at the beginning of November, which is fantastic, right? We have started to book business, and we have taken deposits and signed contracts for January of 25 and beyond. We are hopeful that by the end of the summer, we're going to have a firm date so that we can back in to start selling and hotel rooms and business and events into the end of this year. So that is probably the biggest question that y'all have. But I'll open it up to any other questions that you may have or that I might be able to answer that I breezed over.
Mike, thank you for that. For those of you who are new, please wait for a microphone. We are streaming this live, so to capture your question, Leslie or I will bring a mic to you. If you have a question, just raise your hand.
Deborah O'Brien. Who was your architect and who was the interior design firm that did your designs?
It's a great question. Clayton Cordy is our architect. Clayton Cordy has done a bunch of different projects. The ones that I'm most familiar with are actually at the Pearl, where I said I previously came from at Hotel Emma. So that gives you an idea for kind of their aesthetic. Our interiors designer was done all by a woman named Melanie Rains, who was previously with New Waterloo and since the development of the project has left the company. But all of her vision, I guess, is being played out with that. So a great question.
Are you pet friendly? And what's the rate schedule or the span of your rate?
That's a great question. We are absolutely pet friendly. All New Waterloo properties are pet friendly. We want you to bring their extension of our families, obviously. Rate is also a great question. We will do things for the local community and special rates for locals for sure. As you can imagine, our rates on the weekend will be a little bit higher than they will during the week, but our average rate will be ranged from about high 200s to about mid 300s. That's where we're going to be.
Yeah. Can you tell me what the rationale was for the face of the Albert Hotel, the exterior, and how you feel like that fits in with the older buildings in the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the face and facade, Sean's not there anymore, but of that building, the idea was that we were going to leave this very minimalistic, right? We didn't put a lot of artistic touch on it, and I know some people have given me feedback that it feels very contemporary based on the rest of the historical buildings. And again, what we really tried to do is, these aren't bright colors, these are neutral tones, these are supposed to be really, again, authentic to the hill country and not super, you know, flashy or bright colors or anything like that. So I can't, the hotel was designed well before I got there, so I certainly understand and hear what you're saying. But it, I have gotten that feedback that it maybe feels a little bit out of place. And I guess my response to that would be, let's live in it for a little bit and see how it feels. And I hope that that might change.
So, as you know, in the hill country, water is a big topic. So what are you doing to be a good water citizen, and how much water recycling, gray water reuse, and what active recycling through your tourist base are you doing to help the recycling in the city?
Yeah, that's a great question. I can't directly speak to the water conservation, although we will do things from a recycle. So There's not going to be any plastic water bottles or anything like that in the room. If you go into the pharmacy, there's not a lot of plastic to be seen in there at all. It's mostly glass and aluminum, stuff that's easily recyclable, although glass is not so much easily recyclable. We will have a recycle program there, and that's a whole other thing. I am firmly aware of that. And but no, I think, sustainability and leaving a minimal footprint on our community is super important to Albert. I can't speak to the water thing so much. I apologize about that. I know it's a hot topic. I've sat in some of these meetings before, so I know how much water conservation is, and we were going to do everything we can to make sure that we're playing our role and part in that as well. But we are working with Hill Country Waste Solutions, which is obviously local, that does all of our recycling. We built a trash enclosure that's kind of off of Austin Street, so all of our areas have recycling. So all these things are incredibly important to us, and we're going to continue to make some headway. Yes.
105 rooms, processing.
Yeah, so you want to ask it again? So
sure.
Everyone, yeah.
With 105 rooms,
yep.
And as at least many hotels process laundry every day, yep. For 105 rooms,
yep.
That's a lot of demand.
Yeah.
And what is the plan for use of water, and what is the plan for use of the used water?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we'll have an option and a program for people to opt out of these daily housekeeping services, so that we're not doing so much laundry. We will have an on-site laundry there, and we think it's incredibly valuable. We'll offer our services at some point to the community and surrounding businesses who may be outsourcing their laundry as well. But when you go to hotels, there's a green program initiative where you can say, hey, don't clean my room every day, and don't give me a new towel every single day, because those eventually have to be washed. And obviously, and use some water. So there will be programs that we have upon check-in or before you even get there to be able to opt into, so that, hey, you won't be using so much, I guess,
We all know that the service trade is kind of an endangered species around here. I wondered if you could comment on your footprint. You're going to use a lot, and how are you going forward, and are you successful?
Did you say service training? Is that correct? Okay. Service trade. Oh, finding them. Yeah, that's the second most asked question after when we're opening is, how many people are you going to hire, and how are you going to do it, right? So I could talk about this all day, so I don't know how much time y'all have. The thing that makes a hotel special and want you to come back is the experience you get from the people that are working there. I have found that over the course of my career, and I've led many different types of teams. So I have spent over the course of the last 2 years just as much time thinking about what the associate experience like and what it means to be employed by Albert as I have what the guest experience is. And I believe that's how we're going to keep. So there is not a deep-rooted history of hotel hospitality people here, right? There's just simply not. So if you show up with a good attitude and a willingness to learn, I am putting all of my eggs in the training and development basket. We are going to teach and develop you how to give proper, elevated hotel service here. And then outside of that, if you want, we're going to help you build a career in hospitality if that's what you want to do as well. So that's incredibly important to us. Our value proposition as an employer, which we will have over 200 plus associates all in when we're fully running at Albert, is, hey, we're going to pay you a tremendously fair wage, a more than livable wage. We are going to give you a path to continue to grow your career at Albert if you so choose. If you don't, and you're a high school kid that's looking for a summer job, 100% we can also provide that for you. And then we're going to give you a voice on how to make things better, because some of the best hotels I've ever worked at is when there's a direct pipeline to the people who are serving and making that guest experience special to me, because they're the ones that know how to make it better. So if you empower them and give them a voice on how to make the establishment that they work for better, the amount of pride that they have in that place grows exponentially. So there has been this, and I've experienced over the last couple years is, hey, this company down the street or this establishment down the street is offering me 50 cents or $1 more an hour. I'm going to leave and go work there. And that's fine. And I get money is a big part of this. No one's working for free. My idea is to make that value proposition so good at Albert and to treat that associate so well and to give them a voice and empower them to where if that opportunity comes up, they're not going to say, hey, we're out, we're going to leave. So that's kind of what we've been. So I appreciate you asking that question.
Will you offer concierge service there as well, like other, high-end hotels? And if you do, would that be coordinated with, say, the CVB or how that would all work?
Did you say day services like
concierge?
Oh yeah. Absolutely, it's a great question. Yes.
I don't know if I pronounced that right. It's
concierge.
a French word, but
I get it now.
Concierge. Concierge.
I get it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
concierge.
Yeah. The way you said it was almost more fancy, actually. So I don't know. Yes, absolutely. So look, everyone knows when you come to Fredericksburg on the weekend, it's hard to get. You guys don't go down to Main Street for a just reason. I am also in that boat now, but I have to go down there. When you make a reservation at Albert, we are going to call, after that reservation is confirmed, we're going to call you ahead of before you even step foot on property, and that's when the Albert experience starts. And we're going to say, what do you want to experience while you're here, and how can we help you with that? Because if you try to go anywhere on a Saturday and without a dinner reservation, or if they take reservations, you're not going to get in there, right? So 100%, the pre-arrival experience, super important. And then we've just partnered with a lot of great businesses to tell their story to our guests and bring them into the community and spend their dollars and give them an experience in all the great businesses that are already here, right? So that's super, super important to us. But concierge all day, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
Have you personally experienced the elephant room?
The saloon?
The saloon?
Yes.
What was the thinking behind the acoustic situation and the furniture and the look inside?
These are great questions. Show of hands, who has been in the White Elephant Saloon? Just curious. Okay, wonderful. So what you are referring to, obviously, that we got a shell of a building, obviously, right? And like I mentioned, our intention of all of these historic buildings is to leave them largely untouched. And as you can imagine, sound and acoustic quality was not probably super on the high list of priorities when that building was built, right? So, but what we have learned since we've been in there is, oh wow, it's kind of cavernous in here, and it echoes. I get that 100%. And so when we first got there was very little things on the wall, right? There was no soft seating. The seating was hard, right? And I think even those of you who have experienced that space now, what it's going to look like in 6 months will be different, because we've learned so much being in there for this 6 months that we know we have to make some changes, right? And we've done that. So some of you who've been there day one and then have seen it, 4 months into it now, it has evolved, and it's going to continue to evolve because we recognize the same thing. It's hard to hear in there, 100%. We get it. Yeah. Really difficult. Yeah, I get it, 100%. And look, our goal is to figure out how we can make a historic building built in the 1800s a great sound quality without taking away from all of that charm. So we're on that, and we hear you. Yeah, it's hard, and we want you to come back and have those meetings there. Because again, I just sat up here and blabbed at you about how much we built it for our local community, and if you can't have a meeting in there, then how's that for you? So I get that 100%. Awesome. Thank you all for allowing me to speak with you this morning. I have cards up here. I'm very much here all the time in Fredericksburg, so if any of y'all need anything or I can answer a question that maybe I didn't get to, please let me know. I'm going to be here for the duration of this this morning, so if you want to catch me afterwards as well, yes, please.
Just wanted to acknowledge you guys and thank you for, during the eclipse, you both stepped up and provided 300 pastries for first responders, and you did that out of the kindness of your heart, so I just wanted to acknowledge that and say thank you guys for what you did.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mike and team. I did have one question. What's the earliest I can book a room? My wife is asking.
LeeAnn is, of course. As soon as you can, I'll make sure Victoria emails you. Okay. So very soon. 60 to 90 days before we are open, you'll be able to book a room there.
So we've also talked about this. Who would be up for cocktails with Clinton at the White Elephant? Okay, we'll try to fix the sound over there. So thank you again. You bet. Okay, Chris, if I could have Chris Ganese come up. We'll just touch on 4th of July events. Anybody make the parade? Who parked their car on Main Street overnight? We got one, two, I think. So that's such a great thing. You know, such a wonderful community event. It's an event that my wife and I have made since we've been here the last 10 plus years, and a lot of locals out there on the street, 10,000 plus people in that event. I think the entire council was part of the event. So fireworks, anybody watch the fireworks? Anybody come out to the park? Watch from your backyard? Okay. I watched from right here on the corner of this sidewalk, and it's a great place to watch from. Much like the park, you're real close to the fireworks, so 5,000 plus folks showed up to that. All right, I'll hand it over to Chris Ganese. He's going to talk about some of the projects, public works projects coming up. We don't have a slide for water supply, but I think you can talk through that as well.
All right, good morning. Thank you all for being here. Gave a little bit more of an extensive presentation yesterday to City Council in regards to some of the slides that we'll show this morning. A little bit more detailed information on those slides that you can view off of the city's website if you want that information. As far as the paving project, so if you've been around town, you've seen that the paving project has started. This is our annual project where this year we're paving about 90 blocks of city streets. It's about 350,000 square yards of pavement. That project started July the 9th. We continued that project early this week. Unfortunately, had an equipment breakdown on Monday about lunchtime. So they're doing level up this week. Great weather, actually, to do the paving. But unfortunately, our chip box is down until that part can be brought in and the repair made. So they are still working, but not on the chip seal portion of the paving project. We hope that will resume next week. I know there's some rain chances next week, which might delay that a little bit more. I'd just like to note that they do door hangers a day or two in advance when they're going to be paving the street. So please remove cars, trailers, anything that's in the street. If we have to remove it, we certainly can do that, but we'd like those homeowners or business owners to remove those vehicles. In addition to that, grass clippings or any water from irrigation that gets in the street does affect the quality of the pavement that's put down on those new streets. A little bit about the TxDOT mill and overlay paving project. We got an updated schedule from TxDOT that shows them starting at the end of this month, the beginning of August. So I think last time I had reported they were starting the week after July 4th. Obviously, you haven't seen any of that activity other than some of their traffic control signs that they put up a couple of weeks ago. But that's the latest schedule that we have from TxDOT, is that will start at the end of July. And that project, the extent of that project is from Crystal Drive, which is by the UPS store, all the way out to the Y. So it's basically all of Main Street. It is curb to curb, so it does include the parking spots. It includes a full depth repair of some of those base failure areas, like in front of Whataburger, in front of Ace Hardware. Some of those really, really rough spots that y'all drive across daily. They'll actually go through and pull out that pavement, do about 6 inches of depth repair, 6 to 8 inches. And then the mill and overlay will include all of the pavement, about 2 inches, where they'll come mill off 2 inches of pavement and put new hot mix, again, for the extent of that whole project from Crystal Drive to the Y. The next bullet point here, the South Llano Street Bridge. So as Clinton mentioned, if you've driven by Ufer Street or Creek Street, or even from Maine, you can see that crane. The bridge was delivered last night around 9 o'clock. It's sitting there in 2 pieces. I suspect that they're probably lifting that off of those trailers right now, assembling the bridge, and between 12 and 1, assuming the weather continues to hold up, really the wind is a big factor, that bridge will be put in place and set on those abutments. So really exciting to see that. That project come together and the infrastructure arrive last night, and hopefully it'll be placed by the end of the day. Any questions about that bridge? It's a pedestrian bridge. It's 9 foot wide, so it's not a vehicular bridge. It's just for bikes and walking traffic. Don't have a slide up here. Again, more information on the slides that we shared at the city council meeting yesterday regarding water. So the canal, we have 2 monitoring wells, one about 5 miles east of town, one about 2.5, 3 miles southeast of town. The canal property, we have a monitoring well in. It's actually Texas Water Development Board equipment, but it shows about 10 foot higher than we were this time last year. So last year we were about 95 feet below the ground surface in the aquifer at that location. Currently we're about 85 feet. So a good sign. We have had milder temperatures. We've been blessed with some rain. So our pumpage rates have been lower than what we had seen in the last couple of years for the month of July, which is a really good sign. Hopefully that continues. I don't know the last time we had green grass like this in the middle of July, but it's a welcome sight. In the old San Antonio Road well field, we're about 2 feet lower than we were this time last year, but again, it's fairly stable. So we have seen somewhat of an increase for the calendar year from January to current date, but we are still about 2 feet lower than we were this time last year. So, which in that particular area of the aquifer, we don't see the rebound quite as quickly to rainfall events. So it's nothing unusual in regards to responses to rain in that particular area of the aquifer. So, any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Just a quick one. So what does it take to get us to level 3 again?
Sure. I think our goal is to get through the summer and then evaluate that. So we are, I would say, once we get through September, middle of September, end of September, we will kind of evaluate where we are, what that future looks like. But the goal is, let's get through the really hot time of the year here, get into the fall, hopefully that rain continues, and we'll reevaluate that.
Speaking of hot weather, that means air conditioners. Is the city doing anything to collect the water that comes from the air conditioning condensation? Thank you.
As far as our buildings, I'm not aware of any condensation collection. I will speak to the Albert. That question was brought up. I remember during the construction and when they were putting the piping in the slab, there was a challenge getting some of the AC condensate lines to the sanitary sewer collection. So I believe there is some collection being done on some of their AC condensate that's going to be used for their landscape beds. But as far as the city facility, I'm not aware of any buildings that have that collection currently.
You really should consider it, because we do it at home, and we have only 2 air conditioners, but we collect enough. What do you think it is? About 5, 10, 12 gallons a day? And we keep the house at 75. Yes, so you might consider it. The other question I have is the painting. When the paving starts happening, will there be painting of the curbs as far as reflective painting, or just delineation of the curbs a little bit more than they already are?
I'm not aware of the project including any additional painting other than what's there currently, but we can certainly work with TxDOT. Obviously that's a TxDOT project. Now as far as our project goes, if we're paving side streets that have parking spots, we go back and put those in. We do touch up areas of curb that paint has faded and so forth. So if you have an area that you'd like us to take a look at or that needs to be updated, we can certainly do that on city streets.
Chris, when they pave gravel that's left over, is there any other way to sweep that in to where we don't get piles of scree? And from a bike rider standpoint, it's bad.
Great question. So we were asked the same question yesterday at the council meeting. So our schedule on going back and pulling some of that loose gravel back up is 7 days after we pave, 30 days after we pave, and 12 months. So we do have to put a little of excess gravel just to make sure that there isn't bleeding in the emulsion. But that's our schedule to go back and pull that loose gravel back up. 7 days after we pave, 30 days, and 12 months. So yes, sir, we certainly will go back and remove some of that loose gravel. All right, thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Just wanted to add, there was a question about hotel water consumption, and this is something we've talked about a little bit in the past. If we look at all of the hotels in Fredericksburg, that water demand is about 5%, give or take, of our total. All of those rooms, all activities, outdoor irrigation accounts for about 70% of that overall consumption. Regarding the air conditioning system condensate lines, and I've mentioned this before too, in bigger cities where you have high-rise buildings that have a lot of air conditioning, they are building these structures to be self-sustaining on the water side, and the condensate that is generated, they basically generate water through the condensate lines is all they need to service the entire building, whether it's drinking water, water for restrooms, irrigation of landscaping, whatever the case may be. And there's just a fire line that's attached in case of a fire so there's no flow coming off the city system. So again, a lot of opportunities when we have these larger structures constructed. It sounds like a weird thing, but when you're talking about massive structures, you can really generate a lot of water from that condensate that would otherwise go right into the sanitary sewer. So we'll always look for ways to do that, capture water. Getting back to the stage 3 question, as Chris mentioned, this is a very precious resource, and it's something that we watch very closely every single day. We will make a very calculated decision. It's not just based on where we are, it's based on what the future looks like in terms of weather patterns and so forth. Growth is a big part of that. So a lot of different factors play into that. But thank you all for cutting back on your water consumption. We're starting to see that savings reflected in our aquifer. We're not quite where we would like to be in terms of cutting back, but we're really close to that. So thank you, all of you, sacrificing your yards and landscaping and making changes in the way you do that to help us conserve.
We need to hear about that last
bullet. You want to hear about the last bullet? So the Muse development at the Y, which is proceeding under a planned unit development. The original PUD for the Seven Hills project is moving forward. They have checked all of the boxes on the development side and on the entry corridor side. So that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission last week. Was it last week? A couple of weeks ago? We have a gentleman from Tom Musselman's on the on P&Z. Tom, I don't know if you want to say anything about that or not, but that is proceeding. It appears it'll be a multi-phase, two-phase development with the hotel constructed first with conference space, and then the restaurant and retail space in the second phase. But that is moving forward. You want to talk a little bit about Preview Week, Food and Wine Fest?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to questions after this. Clinton mentioned the Fredericksburg Food and Wine Week. Preview week starts Monday, July 22nd. They have a event. This is geared towards locals. I think at last check they've sold 400 tickets across all their events. So if you haven't yet, they have a couple that are sold out. That Taste of Texas up there is sold out on Tuesday, and then the the summer cocktail class on Thursday at the Herb Garden is sold out as well, but otherwise they have tickets. One of those happening at the Elephant Saloon, Saturday morning brunch. You can purchase tickets online with the Fredericksburg Food and Wine Fest. So July 22nd through 26th are those events.
Okay, thank you for that. Just wanted to mention a couple of things from the council meeting yesterday. First of all, our finance department staff was awarded the Distinguished Budget Award through the Government Finance Officers Association. Krista Wareham and team do a wonderful job with the budget. We're watching every dollar. I see her husband in the back of the room. He's the guy with his cap on backwards. So congratulations to our finance department. Also, Judge Hoypel is officially retiring. He has served our municipal court for about 15 years now. The other notable item was the annexation request for property off of Mariposa adjacent to Heritage Hill Country, which the council voted against yesterday, so that will not be annexed, and there at the present time won't be any development happening in that particular area associated with the city anyway. All right, what we typically do now is go around the room. Did you have a
one thing about the Food and Wine Fest? I tried to log in to buy tickets yesterday using on the internet, and it didn't work.
Okay. And regarding the preview week, since you're talking about Food and Wine Fest again, this is really a locals' opportunity to get out and enjoy what is coming up for the main event in October. So take a look at these different opportunities to preview the main event. I think it's going to be really, really neat, quite different than we've done things in the past. So take advantage of the opportunity, get out. I've bought tickets to a couple of events. Look forward to seeing a few more of you there.
Tom, we have a meeting at 9:30 after this. I'll mention that.
Okay, so what I typically do now is go around the room. If anyone has any general questions for me about anything, we have a lot of staff here. We can answer those. If you could introduce yourself and tell me if you live in the city or the county, if you don't mind. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Karen Pooser. I live out 87 North, and I'm curious, is there going to be any construction change with this road work at the Y where this convention area is going to be built to alleviate some of the traffic that I can foresee being congested in that area, because that's never been a great intersection.
Right. You want to take that, Chris?
Sure. Get over here where the camera can see me. We are working with TxDOT, have some very preliminary plans. It's not a project that TxDOT identified, but it is something that city staff is pushing TxDOT to really look into and consider. So certainly understand some of the issues that are currently there without the development, but what could be generated from the development as well. So yes, we are working with TxDOT, and we hope to actually maybe bring TxDOT to one of these meetings to maybe even kind of present some of those preliminary plans in the future. So maybe early next year or something like that. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Clinton, good morning. Status of the soccer fields, one, and the old soccer fields. Is there any plan to put another baseball diamond in? The status of the hotel project across from the post office? What's going on there? Because I know that's going to be all involved in that, and if it's going to be morphed into the Muse development, et cetera. And then we talked about grass clippings. It's always been a thing in my side that people that when the yard services come in, they blow everything into the street. It's not your problem. It's the owner's problem, and they should be required. I don't know how the city can go about licensing these guys or whatever, if code enforcement can take care of it. But the other thing is that we talked a lot about Travis and Cherry with parking all the cars there for a long period of time. I see it, especially at four-way stop signs, where people park their cars right up to an intersection. If there's a way that we can basically put a note on their front doors or whatever, if code enforcement or law enforcement is driving around and seeing that, that they can say, hey, you got to park X amount of feet away from a stop sign so you don't block the visual. We have a horrible situation at the corner of corner of Avenue C and Burbank right now. I asked the owner if he would move his truck around there because we have one person that lives on our street that likes to run that stop sign all the time, and he doesn't really care about it. And one more thing, on our tables today, there is about a fundraising for police. I think one of the things that the city could do is all first responders, fire department, sheriff's department, police department, everything, they should be offered some kind of freebie or whatever thing that you guys could put into the package when we're seeking out new employees, that they get free golf, they get free use of anything that the city is involved in or that we have ownership in, or discounts on. I was going to talk to Chris here this morning about it. I realized the golf carts, that could be something that's a concession that they own. But the city basically is in charge of the golf course. We could offer 1 or 2 days a week free golf. And I'm sure there's a whole list of items citywide that we could be offering to the police department, the sheriff's department, et cetera, as another thing for them to go out and hire people.
We'll finish with that, and I'll ask Chief Warauer and Alyssa to speak to that. But starting with the soccer fields, so we are moving forward, or there is a contractor moving forward with the construction of the soccer fields. They should complete the placement of all of the processed dirt for the fields end of this week, begin planting grass within the next month, about a 90-day grow-in period. Hopefully start playing on those fields toward the end of the year, certainly next spring. If you've driven by, there's been a lot of activity. They ran into a little bit of a roadblock with a lot of rock material being in the dirt that they were processing. They had to pull that back out and get all those rocks out. But they're at that point now, and they're doing the final placement of the dirt. A lot of improvements being made out there. So by the end of the year, there will be soccer being played on fields, on the new soccer fields. In terms of the other property adjacent to the soccer fields, where the existing fields are located, we do have plans to construct baseball, softball fields there at some point in the future. I can't tell you exactly when. That is a need in the community, but that is what's planned for that area right there. I can't speak to the hotel across from the post office. I can get you some information on that in terms of timelines and will it be associated with the development at the Y and so forth. I can get you a little bit of information on that. The grass clipping issue, fertilizer also applies to this. A lot of cities prohibit that through their stormwater program because that ends up in creeks and so forth. Oxygen demanding material, it creates algae growth. It's generally bad for stormwater runoff. We don't have an ordinance that prohibits that, but I've heard that a lot, I've seen it a lot, so I would expect that at some point we will probably restrict yard care companies and others from blowing that material out in the street. The problem that we have with that is our leaf pickup is in the street. And if we have an ordinance prohibiting blowing any kind of vegetation out into the street, it might prohibit that. So that's one of the reasons we haven't done that yet. Finding a better place for that, making sure our equipment can pick that up in a yard instead of the street. So but I understand that that can be an issue. In terms of four-way stops, we have addressed the issue at the intersection of Travis and Cherry. Although we have to keep going back and reminding folks, the property owners are helping us out. City ordinance, I think it's 30 feet, Chris, or 25 feet? No parking within 30 feet of the intersection, I believe. I'm looking at police chief back here. I think that's correct. Aside from putting some kind of marking on the curb, it's going to be difficult to manage that in all areas. But if there are some particular problem areas that you've identified, we'd be more than happy to talk to the property owners and try to get them to pull back from those intersections a little bit. Can y'all answer the question about the police fund?
Good morning. This morning you have on your tables 2 different flyers. The first flyer is Bingo for the Blue. It is a fundraiser that Absolute Charm Real Estate Agency is putting on for our Police Foundation Fund. It is on August 8th from 4 to 6. Bingo games begin at 4 o'clock. All the proceeds that are collected from that event go straight to our foundation fund that was established in December. And then the second flyer you have is for our foundation fund campaign. So the proceeds that we're receiving, all the donations and everything that we're getting are going to our officer housing. That is one of the ways that we are trying to recruit and then also retain our officers. So if that is something you're interested in, we look forward to seeing y'all out on August 8th.
Thank you for that. Thanks for the question. Okay, have we gone around first table? How about right up here? Anything?
Sorry, I was putting that in my calendar.
Okay. Do you have anything else in that? Thank you.
John McManus, City. We live on West Travis near the Catholic Cemetery. This last week that road was paved, and as far as I can tell, they did an excellent job.
Well, thank you for that.
Brenda, West Travis, no questions.
By the way, Brenda walks all over the place. I saw her miles from her home the other day on a mission back to Travis Street. So. Anything else? Yes, sir. Bill.
Okay. I'd like to say a few words about an incident that happened to me back in April. Some of you know about it, some of you don't. Saturday morning, April 4th, out in the front yard, trimming the front yard, promptly face planted. My heart stopped. I face planted in the lawn. Fortunately, I had a neighbor that started CPR, called 911. Next on the scene were a couple police officers. That police team took over the CPR. And this was, I'm all being told this because I was out cold and I don't remember a bit of it. Fire EMS came, and I think we had a couple ambulances and a fire truck. Again, the paramedics and the EMTs kept me alive, kept it going, got my heart going, or at least kept it going until they got me to the hospital, eventually flew me to Houston, to Austin Hart. And I woke up 4 weeks later kind of saying, what happened? But I just wanted to take this time while we've got the community gathered here to thank those officers, those paramedics, the management, the leadership there in these departments. The guys did one hell of a job, because it's thanks to you that I'm sitting here today. Otherwise, I'd end up in one of Max Beckman's coolers. And the one thing, since we've got the leadership here for the police department and the fire department, I want to take the opportunity to identify who those officers and those EMTs and firefighters were there, just to thank them personally. And thanks to the leadership of the city for putting together such a great department and great emergency services now. Thank you.
So, Bill, I'm glad you're okay. And when we first heard about that, Chief, you might want to tell the story about the phone call you got from Mr. Wagaman's son.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. So, about 3 days after the event that took place with Bill, his son called me. He's a firefighter and actually a captain in the San Diego Fire Department, and wanted to thank each and every one who attended to his dad and saved his life, and they did save his life. The other thing I want to just mention real quick is we had the opportunity today to attend the city council meeting, and Bill was there. After the meeting, I introduced him to Amy Burrier, who is one of our firefighter paramedics, and she said, "Can I give you a hug?" And they hugged right there after the meeting, and I got a picture of it, so it's going to go in my office. But again, it's the hard work of the people who work with us and for us throughout the community that we thank each and every day for what they do. If it wasn't for our people, we wouldn't be here as leaders. So all the thanks go to those who are in those trucks, in those police cars, and doing this every single day. Where the rubber meets the road is with those individuals who do it day in and day out, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever the time may be, that someone is in need. We're going to be there. So thank you very much.
I'm not going to get off the topic just quite yet. So we have 2 people in the room that were in a similar situation, Bill and George Studer. George had a heart attack. Was it about, how long ago was that? So I can't believe it's been that long, but very similar story. You know, minutes mean everything when you're in a situation like that. We have the best team in our fire EMS department and our police department. I feel confident that we could respond to anything. We have responded very well to a lot of things in this community. So we're going through the budget process right now, and I can tell you that we always start with emergency services, fire EMS, and our police department. In terms of needs, we have always done that. We will continue to do that. That is very important to me. It's very important to this community, everyone in this room. Thank you, City Council, for supporting that, continuing to support that as we move forward. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I'm Deb Youngblood with the Pertinalis River Alliance, and boy, it's hard to follow that. But I just got to say, this is awesome to see these 2 gentlemen with us today. That's awesome. I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that on August the 19th, there will be a community meeting at Rockbox Theater at 7 p.m., and we will be meeting with TCEQ and the developers of Archway Resort. And if you have concerns or issues or any question that you would like to ask of either of those, either TCEQ or the developers, you can go to that meeting and you can ask your questions. Get out there, be a part of it. Don't sit back at home and say, well, somebody will do it for me. Get over there and ask the questions that you have about that development and what they're going to do with their wastewater. So if you have any questions, please stop me. I'm here. And I'm also online at pertinalisriveralliance.com. Thank you. 19th, August 19th, 7 p.m., Rockbox Theater. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, George.
Okay, George Studer. I live over by Cross Mountain, and I was the guy that Clinton thought might not be here today. However, I do want to mention that I had a stroke. After returning, I was driving all over Europe for 6 weeks. I had a stroke 2 days after I got back. And the point being that the emergency services depend on our medical services that are like partnering with us. The emergency at the hospital handled me very quickly, efficiently. I was in an MRI, and it was just a balance, a couple little guys in the back for my balance. I'm fine. But our emergency services need to function on a basis of the medical services in our community. And I guess I would appreciate somehow that we have an update on a regular basis of the medical services health, the health of the medical services that we depend on. Emergency is one thing. The wellness center, which I depended on for my recovery, was fantastic. But we have to watch that and make sure it's okay. The other thing I wanted to bring up was Fort Martin Scott. It was an amazing development earlier this year, the event and all that. But I wonder if we could have a ongoing effort to keep working that project so it becomes more a part of our community. It's something we should be proud of. It's our history, and let's build on what Eric and company did earlier this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that. A lot to come with Fort Martin Scott.
Eric Hamerson in the city. Just to follow on from what George said, earlier this year, the City Council agreed to transfer the ownership of Fort Martin Scott to the Texas Historical Commission. They are operating out there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 to 5. At the present time, they're waiting until they get the funding from the next legislature to be able to actually hire a staff to be there, and they'll be open more days of the week once that comes in place. But right now they're bringing people here sort of on temporary duty from other locations. But I recommend everybody go out to Fort Martin Scott Thursday, Friday, Saturday, talk to Shannon Smith, who's out there, or Chris, who's out there, and enjoy the opportunity to see it. They are putting together sort of a long-range plan for what they're going to do, and that's typical for anything that they're going to take over. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out in the future. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Kate Walker in the city. I'm not sure my question is a general question, and it may just be newcomers' ignorance, but I got a summons to jury service, which I'm glad to do, and told me where and when to show up, but it said to come to the Gillespie County Courthouse at the Law Enforcement Center. And I thought the Gillespie County Courthouse was downtown. So can somebody help me know where I'm supposed to be?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Got it?
Thank you, yes.
Okay. Ms. Rowan.
Cheryl Rowan, City. I work part-time at the Visitor Center, also commonly known as the CVB or the VIC, and a couple weekends ago, I was working and had a question from a visitor regarding gender-neutral restrooms. And both my coworker and I kind of came up short, and I just wanted to throw that out there. It's becoming more common, and to find things in that regard. This woman had a handicapped husband, and he was unable to go into the restroom by himself, and she was looking for somewhere where that might be an accommodation for her.
Okay, noted.
Dana?
Anyone else? Right back over here.
Clint, my wife just left me a note. My wife was in the parade this year. First of all, the 4th of July parade was amazing. I think it was the largest parade that we've ever had, over 100 and something floats. The one thing, I was standing on the corner of the courthouse when the parade starts and turns right at the courthouse and goes on down, makes the loop down by the museum and comes back up. It's essentially on both sides of the street. When it gets down to the courthouse, the floats stay again on one side of the street, and everybody on the other side of the street misses the parade because essentially everything's going down the other side. And the absence of the kids noticed on our corner there, where's the bands? Why did the high school, does anybody have any reasons why we didn't have any high school bands this year?
I don't have the reason, no, sir.
I mean, it ought to be a requirement. But anyway, I hope next year or whenever we have parades that they tell the floats then to move to the center of the street so people get to enjoy the parade from both sides from there
Sure.
on.
We'll look at both of those things. Thank you. Yes, sir.
A couple of things, James Klein, City. And first off, can you give us an update on City Hall and the Hill Country University Center? And second of all, are they ever going to take down the fence in front of the Immigrant Hotel? Oh, it is down. Oh, okay. Woo.
Okay.
Well, let's pop the champagne.
Yeah, so the first question, the city is pursuing the purchase of the Hill Country University Center building. We're currently in negotiations with the the Hill Country University Center board for that purchase. We hope to close on the property sometime around the 1st of September and begin some remodeling of the space and conversion of a space into a new council chambers. We hope to be in that building maybe this time next year, but that is moving forward. A little bit more detail on that. The city had a staffing and space study completed back in 2015, which basically concluded that we were out of space, and we literally have filled every broom closet in City Hall. Be welcome to show you. Literally, we have a desk and chair in a storage closet because we needed the space, and all of the rest of them have been converted to offices officially. We have 13,000 square feet. We need 26,000 square feet for the next 10 years of staff growth. That building is 26,000 square feet. The city owns the dirt that it sits on, the land that it sits on. There's a lot of room for expansion of that. We feel it will provide a better opportunity for services to the community. We're talking about a drive-through bill pay, utility bill pay, also maintaining our presence in the current City Hall in terms of being able to pay your utility bills. There's also a need to move fire EMS admin offices all together into one area. City Hall would be that location. Also relocating the police substation to the first floor of City Hall, increasing that police presence on Main Street. There's also a need for that. We're looking at an expansion of the current substation. This would be just move in, begin operating the police substation out of the current City Hall. So that's all moving forward. When you talk about the cost for a new City Hall of that size, new construction, you're looking at probably in the $20 to $30 million range. Our offer currently is $10.5 million for the structure. Also, the time to construct something, design and construct something, it would be 5 years before we ever put a key in the door, and we're looking at moving in almost immediately. So it addresses a lot of community needs. In terms of the proceeds from the sale, the Hill Country University Center Board is discussing creating an endowment fund, scholarship fund, and giving scholarships to kids for universities across the state from this area. So it's a win-win, we feel. As higher education has transitioned to more online delivery, they don't have any students out there. They haven't had. They have this huge facility, and no students. As part of our design and remodeling plan, we are planning for public meeting space. So if you have the need to assemble a large group with audio, video capabilities in that facility, you'll be able to do that. Again, this is all in the planning stages right now, but we feel like it's truly a win-win for both organizations and the community. Yes, sir.
Can I address the band question? My name's Tom Musselman. I taught at Fredericksburg High School for 24 years. The issue of the band in the July 4th parade is that the seniors in the band graduate in May, and the people from the 8th grade that are coming into the band don't come to the high school until after band camp during the summer. And so the band doesn't organize until the kids go back to school. So that's why we have band at the county fair parade, but we don't have band at the July 4th parade. And so I think it's a logistics issue, and they don't even know who's in the band yet. They haven't had band camp. So unless you want the piccolo section with the crippled guy from the American Revolution and a flag, and he can just sort of walk down there.
Okay, thank you for that, Tom. Sir, did I answer your question regarding City Hall? Did you? Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to follow up a little bit. Sarah Klein in town. Who's going to take care of the wonderful little grapevines that are now growing around out there? And a question, I don't know if you can answer it. Why don't we have a strings program in the Fredericksburg? We do have strings being taught at the Methodist Church after school. Why isn't it in school? I'm a strings teacher for years. Kids love it.
They are, I think a strings program for Fredericksburg ISD is that's a question for the Board of Trustees, and I don't know that. I mean, that's where it would have to come from.
Yeah, I'm a string bass player. Try to march with that.
So regarding the vineyard, I assume you're talking about out at the University Center. So we're working on a lease agreement with Texas Tech for them to continue their viticulture program and enology program in Fredericksburg and maintain that space out at the University Center. So they have a couple of PhD students that are working on projects currently that'll be wrapping up in October. They will continue that program somewhere in Fredericksburg. Their presence in the wine industry across the state is significant. They have a very large viticulture and enology program statewide, and they're very embedded here in this community. So we're working with them to maintain that. They will keep up that site in terms of maintenance and growth of that vineyard and projects and programs associated with that. You bet. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for being here this morning. Have a great rest of the week.
Please join us in keeping Fredericksburg and Gillespie County special. Be Texas friendly. Share the road. Put litter in its place. Respect private property. And protect our dark skies. Thank you for caring about our community.
Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg, from local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it.
We will have done 27 different neighborhood town hall meetings.
If I hadn't gone into the hotel business, I probably would have went into the nursery business.
Yeah, it's been an amazing morning going around looking at all the animals and
community in Fredericksburg is growing, and we know that people choose to live here, and for very good reason. It's important that we have resources in place so that people can take care of themselves, so that our economy can keep moving, so that this community can continue to thrive. And this is our opportunity to help them stay well and stay part of the community as contributing members.